morning. It's supposed to be a doggy-dog world. But this guy, Swagoo, are you watching me? Peter Schrager, are you watching me? Shay, you watching me? Where's Doggy at? Where's Doggy at? Where's he at? What are you doing? He's homesick. Oh, not taking care of yourself. Still trying to act like you in your 30s. Damn it, it's over. You ain't what you used to be, okay? But it's all right. We got you covered. The crew is in the house. We'll tell you what we're mad about today. Holla at your boy.
It has been a surreal day in Pittsburgh.
The biggest news in the sports world today.
Mike Tomlin stepping down as Pittsburgh Steelers head coach.
I think deep down inside, Mike Tomlin knew all along exactly what he was going to do, and this was his plan to step away after this season.
The wisdom, the way with words, the way he can communicate with people, the leadership that he has, it's rare.
This is a facility that is shocked that Mike Tomlin decided to step away, but also grateful for the wins and the experience and the leadership that he has shown here.
He will take the year off, he will decompress, but the Pittsburgh Steelers now embark upon their first head coaching search in 19 years and only their fourth since 1969.
Good morning. Welcome to First Take, everybody. I'm Shay Cornett, and Stephen A. told you Mad Dog is out sick today. You know, all that hating on everybody. It's finally caught up to him, so he's going to be out. But we're going to hold down the fort. Peter Schrager's here, so is Marcus Spears. Good to see everybody. Was there any news yesterday? I don't know. Just a little bit that happened in the NFL. Let's get right to it. We begin with the news, of course, that Mike Tomlin and his era in Pittsburgh has come to an end. So, Tomlin, the longest tenured head coach in the NFL, at least he was this past season. In 19 seasons as head coach, Tomlin never had a losing season. He's tied with Bill Belichick for the second longest streak of seasons finishing 500 or better in NFL history. In just his second year as head coach, Tomlin led the Steelers to a Super Bowl, defeating the Arizona Cardinals in Super Bowl 43 to capture the franchise's sixth title. However, despite never having a losing record, Tomlin and the Steelers have lost 7 straight playoff games, and their last win dates back to the AFC Divisional back in 2016. It is the longest playoff losing streak in team history and the longest active playoff losing streak as well. Here's Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti right after hearing the news of Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin stepped down at Pittsburgh.
He did? Is it official?
That's what I keep hearing. So, is he a candidate here?
Holy shit, Mike, wouldn't that be awesome? Only if John takes the Pittsburgh job. Wow, wouldn't that be interesting? I don't know, that thing last week maybe disqualified him for my opening.
Come on, Steve. That's what did it. That's what really took him off the list. So it is odd, right, having both the Ravens and the Steelers no longer having the longest tenured head coaches in their respective positions. And so now we react to the news that there will be no more Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. He steps down. Was that the right decision?
It was the right decision. It was the right decision. Matter of fact, I think he did the Steelers a favor, because if they were stuck in a predicament where they felt compelled to let him go, then obviously it was one of those situations where he'd be free to go anywhere, anytime he wanted to. But by him stepping down, you're still under contract for 2 years. You got at least a year where you want to take off, and if anything would have changed, then compensation would have to be afforded to another team or whatever, so that would make it a little bit difficult. But listen, Mike Tomlin is respected. He's revered by people like myself and various others in the industry who appreciated his candor, his honesty, his leadership capabilities, his willingness and ability to hold people accountable. We got all of that. But from a football standpoint, to act like we're surprised that this happened, those are clearly people that are not watching football. Yes, you had 19 straight winnings, better than 500 seasons, 500 or better seasons. We understand that. That's an NFL record. 193, 114, and 2 over his career. 63% of the games he actually won. 12 double-digit winning seasons. All of that's true, okay? But it's also true that you haven't won a playoff game since 2016, that you're 0-0. That coming into that 7th loss on Monday night, where me and Swagoo was damn near hugging one another because we were freezing our bones off, and we needed all the help we could get, attaching ourselves to heat. You got me sitting on the bench with the heat on, for crying out loud, looking for all the heat I could get. Coming into that game, just to put it in perspective, the Steelers hadn't won a game since 2016. They were outscored 73-0 in the first quarter of playoff games that they had lost. They had been outscored. They had faced at least a 20-point deficit in every single one of those playoff games. This was coming into Monday night, and then you ended Monday night losing by 24, getting outscored 23-0 in the fourth quarter. Have it being the greatest home loss, the largest home loss deficit that the Steelers have ever suffered. So that is the reality. And when that's the reality, as he would say, the standard is the standard. Mike Tomlin's going to get a head coach somewhere else. Most teams would be lucky to have him. There is no doubt about that. But in Pittsburgh, there's nothing wrong with the city or the organization saying it's time. And it's a testament to Mike Tomlin that he sensed that it was time, and he didn't make any drama out of it. Literally a day after the season was over, he said, I'm walking away.
And that's exactly how it went down, Stephen A. The game ends, and there was a 9 a.m. meeting with him and Art Rooney, and he was the one who said, we're good. And avoiding any of the awkwardness, avoiding any of the discomfort. Then they had a team meeting in the facility, and a lot of Steelers players thought this was still up in the air. He informed them that he's no longer going to be the coach. I will tell you this, it's so rare in sports to get this. The Steelers players gave him a standing ovation in that meeting room, and he was able to shake each person's hand on staff. And it was a very nice way to end things. In this industry, in this sport, look, just ask John Harbaugh, who found out on a phone call after 18 years. To be able to do it your way and go out on your terms is very, very rare. Now it's what's next for both sides. What's next for the Steelers, but what's next for Mike Tomlin? I'll tell you this. Having worked at Fox for the year that Sean Payton was out of football and took a year off and used that year to study all the other teams in the league, to be able to get some outside perspective, to be able to sleep in some mornings, to be able to have a life with his wife. Those are things that these coaches do not get benefit, especially at this point in their lives. Mike Tomlin is going to use next year to survey the rest of the league, to pick the brains of others, and to get a perspective outside of Pittsburgh, which he hasn't had for the last 2 decades. This is a phenomenal coach. This is one of the best coaches this sport has ever seen. It could also be true that it was time. And that Tomlin, to his credit, was self-aware enough to say, let me be the one to make this happen, as opposed to making this an awkward conversation with Art Rooney and the city of Pittsburgh.
Swag?
Yeah, the first thing is when you leave a situation, it doesn't have to be bad or on bad terms. The point that Schrager was making. And I think Mike Tomlin, one thing we've always kind of marveled at him, and we talk about his pressures and the things that he say is, he knows self. He's a guy that knows who he is. And I think this decision obviously wasn't easy after being in the place for 19 years and having the success. First, let me say this. Mike Tomlin's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's one of the coaches now that's going to be recognized with one of the staples of the NFL in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those fans, those players, us in the media, we owe him a debt of gratitude for how not only he carried himself, but how he managed everything. And that's why so many people will be clamoring for him to work at their network. Come on over here, Mike T. We got you, bro. We got a very warm seat, phenomenal cameras and everything. You can get off and say what you need to say. Yeah, all of the above. But ultimately, this decision for Mike Tomlin, I think, lays into the words that Schrager just spoke about being able to take a reprieve and step away from the game and enjoy a little bit of life. And remember, y'all, when Sean Payton came back, because that was the reference that I was going to use, he was in position to make a lot of decisions. And let's not forget the elephant in the room. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not been able to get the quarterback situation right for since Ben Roethlisberger left. They've tried, they've patchworked it, they've tried to figure out